anything else about your career, just so that everybody knows who you are and what you normally do? Yeah.
My name's Tim Field. I was part of the sort of old school visual effects team, and I was on the rostrum camera. I think I shot the credits at the end.
Okay, well, I'm Tim Walton, and Tim Field did more than that. Peter Chang, who is not here today. Tim and Peter, if you look back and remember that there are bubble shots on the movie which are sublime, they are amazing. And Tim, don't look embarrassed. Peter Chang and Tim did those together, and I did stuff. Animation, effects animations. We all did lots of work together, and so I'm very old now, but I'll pass it.
What am I own? I'm Martin Ashby. I storyboarded the film, and I am a storyboard artist and a strip cartoonist, I guess. Well, thank you.
Yes, my name's Martin Boddy. I was the Mac camera operator on the Labyrinth, and I worked with Doug Ferris, the artist, and we put together all of the matte painting shots combinations. Also worked on the rostrum from time to time. There are so many shots there that I think, did I do anything on that or not? But I'm sure I probably did, but it's a long time ago. And anyway, subsequent to that, I worked in the film business the rest of my working life. The last 28 years I worked for Peerless Camera Company, and I retired a year ago, and now I repair steam engines, which is quite enjoyable.
Hello, I'm Peter Field, Tim's brother, and I work with Martin and these guys. And yeah, we worked on the rostrum camera and Mac cameras, and kind of didn't get whatever was thrown at us, really, I suppose. It was pretty busy, and there was a few films going on at the time, so it's all a bit hazy, you know, looking back. And can't read them. You remember little odds and ends, but in general, you kind of remember most of it. But, you know, I can't remember what I did last week, actually.
So this film obviously came from the kind of golden age of puppeteering. I presume none of you had anything to do with the puppets? No.
No, we didn't really get involved. We were in the post side and on the optical. But you have to say that the puppeteering was amazing, and obviously the set design was incredible.
And nothing to do with nothing to do with the codpiece either? Bowie's codpiece, sorry. It's the other memorable thing from the film.
Just thinking about watching it, you know, in more modern films and working on more modern films, like how back then they've worked with scale really well, and set design and infinity, and being able to look, obviously, at something that's drawn to infinity or beyond, and just being able to see it in camera and not having lots of teeny tricks. You know, the tricks of the eye and tricks of the camera, rather with some of our help. But amazing design, really, and yeah, you know, and the height differences, and you know, where you put a camera when there's a, you know, someone really small and foreground, huge monster in the background. You know, just that kind of stuff that we deal with on a daily basis now. Some great stuff in there. So lots of respect.
And if I may point out that one thing that Tim's probably going to sit here silent about this, say, not wanting to admit guilt. It's not guilt, it's bloody hard work. It was that Roy, when he shot the stuff, it's the puppeteers, it was shot against, if I remember correctly, it was black background.
Yeah.
And the puppeteers, and they were dressed in black, absolutely superb. But one thing they forgot was that Jareth Connolly, beautiful leading actress, of course she has black hair. Ah, you've got it! Right. Right. Now, of course, you had to make up for that, and I believe you wore, actually, I think, you and yourself, and was it Tomo, wore out a photocopier had this technique for, because of course, you know, it's like, well, she's got black. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, right, fine. I feel like God now. Okay, but the thing was that when they shot, when Roy Field was shooting with Henson's, the puppeteers were wearing black, and there was a black background, and the only issue was that Jennifer Connelly has black hair. So of course, he just had a scalp. And this man had to sort it out.
Well,
And now I pass it over to you.
technically, what was devised as the approach to that sequence, and Martin's the camera guy, I think, who was part of that, was a technique of using two cameras aligned 90 degrees each other with a two-way mirror, and one camera is running a high contrast black and white stock, which would pull a matte off the certainly off the Wild Things, and the idea was that certainly off her costume, but hopefully off her hair as well. And then the high contrast mattes were running the optical print of a load of additional rotoscoping that we were going to generate. But as Tim points out, the lighting on the day didn't allow for much of a matte to be pulled off her hair, so there's a lot of rotoscoping going on, which looks actually now appalling, and quite embarrassing. But at the time, it was the best we could do, and to animate the hair. Tim was referring to a technique which we sort of invented a bit, which was photocopying, because that was the only sort of technique in those days that would allow us to repeat exact edges from frame to frame, and then slightly animate to the rotoscope image projected onto the rostrum bed the difference between each frame. The idea of which was to stop bubbling, which is obviously what you see there quite often. I did think actually some of the shots look okay and some look really bad. Obviously I was the one who did the good ones.
I think it was a long time ago.
Martin can hear me. Well, sod you lot. But Martin and I were sitting together in the front row, and we were watching it, and some of the keying was superb. And bear in mind, these days, these days, it's, you know, you use what? You know,
Just computers do it all.
yeah, it's digital. You know, back then, it was just film. You have Dick Dimbleby, and Martin Swinson, and you know, and a few others. And my God, those guys were good. And we're just using film, and the keying was superb because every hair. You know, go back now and watch. Go back now and watch that movie. And every, excuse my language, but every fucking hair. That is superb, great quality. People speak.
No, the Wild Things, the red creatures, I mean, the guys were on a hide into nothing with that, because really the matting, as was intended, didn't work. And as I'm sure a lot of you who work in the film industry will know, that a good percentage of what you do is a rescue. And, I'm going to be honest here. And, that actually didn't look, I mean, I'm looking back from over 30 years since I've seen that movie, and it didn't look quite as howlingly as bad. I didn't quite sink to the floor with my head like that. So.
For a bit of context, sorry. Was this considered at the time a big budget film? Did you have a lot of time to kind of work on the effects and make sure that they were polished?
Yes, it was a biggish budget film at the time, but any film always has a bit of a limited time to get everything done. So, yeah, I don't know what you could have done to make it better. If you start off with something that's not great, it's difficult to make it look really good in every instance.
Well, if you, the brief was to have the puppeteers, where you had, I think, up to 5 puppeteers puppeting each of those characters, because the heads are all falling off, the arms are all falling off, and to comp in and combine a background and the live action Jennifer Connelly, there's not many ways you can do that, because even if you got against Blue, I mean, in those days you couldn't just put a blue suit on and get a mouth of them. You'd have, it was a special backlit devised lighting system that went through 2 surfaces to get the right blue that would allow you to pull them out. So the actual brief of that sequence was quite complicated, whichever way you approached it, I think, Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. To do a film blue screen, you had to have a background that was absolutely pure blue. You know, there was no way that you could have reds or greens or anything getting into it. So, yeah, it made it very difficult, and when things weren't done that quite right, you had a problem, and you'd get fringing and all sorts of stuff, which was very difficult to get around.
Yeah, and just to bring in Martin then, with designing that sequence, is that something that you spent a lot of time trying to think about how the execution would happen, or were you just broadly designing where characters would go and that kind of stuff?
No one asked me how to do it. No, I was, on most of that movie, I wasn't to do with that sequence, but obviously I was in the same department as all the guys, so I would see what the problems were. But no, there was no prior involvement with me.
And Martin, beside you?
Yes, I mean, actually, what threw me totally, just having seen it, was how much Hoggle looked like Elliot Scott, the production designer. It was spot on. Yes, I had a lot to do with designing certain sequences, especially with Jim. I used to meet him twice a week for lunch.
Also, it would be great tonight if, it would be wonderful this evening if Stephen Sallybanks could be here. But he is in the country at the moment, but he's too busy working. And he worked, he did the movie. And only yesterday morning I was speaking to Stephen on the phone. He said, he's too busy. But no, the Ackland Snows and the art department. Okay, this is all actually special effects, but this is all for special effects. But I mean, the art department, give them credit. Fuck off.
Great. So, were there any other key sequences that you were all involved with? So, the crystal balls you touched on briefly.
Yeah, I think just of note, something of note, the opening sequence may be interesting to people who are in the visual effects society, because that opening sequence that Martin designed, I think, and storyboarded and planned for the titles was one of the earliest CG animated, that was an owl, wasn't it? Around sequences that are cut into a movie. I've got a feeling it predates the Sherlock Holmes stuff. So it was one of the first sequences of CG. And it wasn't great, obviously, but but it was, and that was generated by ILM at George Lucas's request.
I don't know why I've got this, but thank you. Well, yes, I designed it more than once with Jim, and yes, I mean it didn't turn out at all like we originally planned it, but it's fine. I only just recently found it. Have you been? There's a book coming out now. Did you hear? 30 years celebration of Labyrinth.
Oh wow!
So some of the defunct designs will be in that, I think, hopefully.
Fantastic, yeah, look forward to reading that. But at the time, did you know that it was going to be computer animated owl? Did that affect your design of the sequence at all?
Yes, I knew it was going to be an animated owl, but yes, I suppose. Well, not really. I mean, people say, if you storyboard a film, you're storyboarding. People say, can you story animation? And it's the same as storyboarding live action. It's storyboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible they ended up cursing you for making it so difficult for them, but but it looked good in the end. Well, if we want to embarrass...
Are you embarrassed?
If we do want to embarrass Martin, I think we've got a picture that we can show up on the screen. Yeah, I think in a minute we can show a picture of Martin from back in the day, actually using one of these massive camera systems. And do you want to talk a little bit about the sort of hardware that was used at the time? It's not coming up yet, but yeah, I think it's coming. Okay, it's got no sound, so we'll just talk over it.
Oh dear.
It'll be a whole different dimension that I can enter into, but obviously that's because Henson's no longer exist as a main body of filmmakers.
No, it would lend itself to a remake, but yeah, hopefully it won't have anything to do with me.
It can still be storyboarded.
Yeah, be storyboarding.
They should work from your originals, I think.
Yeah, may I say that regarding Henson's, this is belated now, it's later, but having worked with both Jim Henson and Frank Oz, okay, it's too late now, it's not going to happen. But Jim Henson was, having met him and worked with him, I mean, he was a Muppet. I don't mean that to be rude, but he was, you know, he was Kermit the Frog. And likewise, Frank Oz is Fozzie Bear, and they were, of course, Frank is still with us, but they were brilliant directors. They're great creatives, and it's a great loss that that Jim Henson is no longer with us, and Frank Oz. Anyway.
Yeah, I believe this was the last film that Jim Henson directed. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it has to be said too that Jim and as we're paying tribute to David Bowie, they were really wonderful people. They were marvellous to work with. They were really gentle men, yes. Bowie included. I accused him of being a prima donna once, and I expected him to be, you know, a Mr. Showboat. He said, "Oh, I've done that, been there, done that." And he was just so approachable.
I think we have one more question, just in front.
I think there's nobody here. Hello.
Oh. Over here.
One here as well.
The ballroom scene, I think it's just such a brilliant piece of work.
Okay, I think Malinka's got a question, and there's one more up the back here. We'll go up the back first.
Hi, my question would be, do you have a favourite moment working with Jim Henson?
Actually, I do, and it wasn't from Labyrinth. It was from Dark Crystal, and going to a meeting with him and Frank Oz and several of the others, and if you shut your eyes, it was like you were talking to the Muppets. So that was a favourite moment. I shut my eyes one day and I thought, this isn't real, you know.
Anyone else? Peter?
Yeah, maybe I'd say just that Jim Henson named a character after Tim and my father, Roy, Travelling Matt, and in one of his movies, so that was quite nice.
Was he Fraggles? I think he was in the Fraggles. Uncle Travelling Matt.
Yeah. So that was that.
Wow.
Anyone else? Tim, I think so.
What about? Okay, shall I do 20 minutes now? The thing is, I get up in the middle of the night, I go downstairs, I open the fridge, the light comes on, I do 20 minutes of jokes. Now, you want that tonight, do you?
I think the thing that's...
Who's been suspiciously quiet? Oh, yes, you did.
Malinka, I think you've got one.